Hi, welcome to the She Asked podcast, where we show you how to change your narrative to change your life. My name's Anna McBride. I'm so excited that you're here. We're going to jump into some Q&As today.
If someone is feeling stuck, like they are surviving but not thriving, what's one question you'd ask them to begin to move forward?
Okay, so that's a great question. Thank you. If somebody feels stuck and they're not sure what to do first, the first thing I would ask them is, where in their life do they feel stuck? Let's get specific, because awareness is the first step towards any change. And yet we need clarity. So clarity comes when we are able to define, what part of my life am I feeling stuck in? And what is the story that I'm telling myself about that? And so once I help, that person can define the story and the situation, then we start to unpack, what is the narrative behind that? Where did that come from? And we, in our workshop, for example, show people how to really identify where the perspective comes from, where the self-concept comes from, where do we even know that we take that on, like at what age and from what situation. And then we start to understand the difference between being a character in the story where we have no agency and being an author where we can change how we progress through the process. So that's the first thing I would check.
Thank you. How do you balance holding space for someone's pain while leading them into aligned action?
How do I balance it? I do a lot of work on myself, meaning that I spend time in meditation and prayer and journaling. I do a lot of work on myself through recovery. Self-care is important. And all of this to be able to help me, along with what I've learned as a therapist for a couple of decades, to be able to hold space for someone. Because to hold space means that I can listen without over-identifying. I can hear what needs to be heard so that I can repeat it back and help the person by guiding them to what are some steps that they can take to change the narrative.
Good. You work at the intersection of recovery and personal transformation. What's one narrative most clients needing to rewrite in early recovery?
Great question. Thank you for that. I find that one of the reoccurring themes where a lot of us get stuck is with the self-concept that we're not enough. We're not pretty enough, we're not thin enough, we're not wealthy enough, we're not smart enough, we're not athletic enough. And this idea that we're not enough sets us up for a lot of challenges in life. So we end up coping through addiction or through overworking or getting into relationships that we think are going to fulfill us, or becoming the version through a career that society decides will help you be successful. The truth is that we will never get beyond the self-concept we have about ourselves. So we have to go back and heal the parts of us when that not enoughness began, the injury began. And when we attend to that and account for that, then we can actually become the author and change the story. That's how we do it.
Many people come to you after doing the work in a 12-step program. What shifts and healing do you see when someone moves from a sobriety recovery program to your program of personal growth?
Anyone who comes to my workshop or my coaching is going to benefit from the fact that I have worked a recovery program for over 8 years myself. I have worked as a therapist for a couple of decades ahead of that. And I actually come more healed and more equipped to be able to help people see the impact of the narratives, the self-concept is contributing towards their stuckedness in their recovery process. So even though you have a lot of time in recovery, doesn't mean that you're fully recovered. Even though you attend to the step process doesn't mean that you've really healed enough to be able to change the narrative. I have actually found that for me, it had to start by me giving myself permission to be able to change the narrative. And I use tools from the recovery process in the workshop, so the languaging will be familiar, yet the process is very different.
What does a turning point really look like for someone ready to rewrite their narrative? Are there any common signs or moments that stand out?
The turning point, the intersection between where you feel stuck and where you want to go, all begins with awareness. Now for me, I only became aware of how unhappy I was after years and years of suffering. Because I have a high tolerance for pain, which a lot of people in recovery do, we tend to miss a lot of the signs that we need to make some change. Now, some of us hit a bottom, we've heard that in the rooms, where we need to get help. And depending on what the addiction is, you seek help to get healthy. Not everybody equates being healthy with being healed. And even though the 12-step process is designed to help the healing begin, it begins with taking a look at what we can't change. That's what recovery calls us to do, to accept what we cannot change. What I want to teach you to do in our workshop is at that intersection of where you want your life to go versus where you are now, there is a decision for change. And it looks like you deciding that you want to be healed and healthy and then continue the process by becoming the author of your story and taking a look at some of these, what we describe in the rooms as defects, and really turning them back into the assets so that you can create the story that will change your life.
How do you help someone reconnect with their identity after they have untangled some of this addiction through recovery programs?
How do I help them
reconnect to their identity? Recovery programs.
So in the recovery program, we identify who we are. That's what was known as the step 4. Like, we outline our unique list of assets and defects, and even in some rooms you're talking about resentments. And it's all to say there's a story about how we identified ourselves. And that story isn't necessarily true. So after time spent in the rooms, you can get clear about what you think you need to let go of. You can get clear about where you think you want to hold on to. You can even get clear about how you want to integrate both together through acceptance. Yet what I want to show you is how you can reintegrate and then go back and change the story by changing your perspective. And when we change our perspective, which we learn in recovery, we actually then can become the author and change some of these choices that we're making day in and day out that lead to a better story. And that's what I want to help people do, is to really take the agency of their life situation, change their perspective, change the narrative so that they can change their lives.
Awesome. So moving out of the heavy hitters and into a lighter ending, what is one morning ritual you swear by?
Every day, I've done the same thing for 20 years. Now, only caveat is if I'm sick, which luckily is not very often. I get up, I go to the bathroom, so I rise, I pee, and then I meditate. My meditation teacher called that RPM. Rise, pee, meditate. And I meditate every day, and I at the same time incorporate prayer. Those are my dailies. Nothing happens without that. That has opened up creative access for me. That's opened up perspective for me. It's opened up the awareness that this workshop was within me based on everything I went through in my life. I am really prepared to offer this workshop, this healing, this coaching authentically through everything I've been through. And I have come to re-identify with that healer inside me because of that morning ritual.
What's one book that changed your life?
The story that changed my life came to me in college, and that was called the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita is an ancient text out of India. It talks about this great war known as the Mahabharata, and the essence of this story is it's a conversation between man and God. And in that story, man is at a crossroads, and he doesn't like his life circumstances. And the conversation he has with God is learning how to change his perspective. I didn't know back then that's what I was going to end up helping people integrate, learn, embody, and live. And yet, over the years, through my meditation and yoga studies, have collected several versions, several translations of that story. So that story, without even knowing it, planted a seed inside me that grew into this oak tree that I am now, being able to come back and help people use the power of storytelling to change their narrative, change their story, change their life.
What is your pump-up song?
That's a good question. I was up on stage last fall at a convention, and they asked me at the very last minute to put together a pump-up song to walk onto the stage, and they were going to play it. And I chose, being a rock and roll girl, a Bon Jovi song called It's My Life. And so they pumped that through the speakers, and let me tell you, they played my music, and everyone in the audience got up and danced. And I loved that. It was so much fun.
Okay, Bon Jovi. What is a surprising thing that recovery taught you about joy?
One of the promises of recovery is to become happy, joyous, and free. And through the work of recovery, which I didn't understand from the beginning, that I was in the process of becoming happy, joyous, and free. To become happy, joyous, and free, you really do need to be willing to look at everything about yourself, accept and love everything about yourself, and lean into the parts that need healing. Lean into the parts that need recovering. Lean into the parts that need to be brought forward in a way so that you can be as joyous. Happiness is fleeting. Joy is eternal. That was what recovery taught me.
What's one thing that you used to believe about healing that you don't anymore?
I used to think that healing was very quick. Like it was a matter of decision and degree and an ability. And if I just had the right teacher, the right doctor, the right pill, the right remedy, that I was going to get better. I thought I needed someone else to do it for me. What I have learned is healing is an inside job. Healing takes a lifetime. Healing does start with a decision. However, it's one that has to be returned to day by day. I have to keep coming back to it. I have to keep reclaiming it in order for it to be enlivened within me and be so committed to that I'm not going to turn away at that first bump, the first setback. And when I do keep coming back, when I remain that resilient, that committed to healing, it happens, but it happens slowly. It's not fast. It's not because of somebody outside of me. It's because of me. And it's all within me. And it's also within you.
What's your secret indulgence?
That depends who you ask. I love chocolate. I love dark chocolate. It's probably the only sweet that I will cave to. Anything dark chocolate. I also like a good glass of wine, although not much anymore. And I particularly think my biggest indulgence is time. Time with the people that I love. My children are my passion, and I love spending time with them as much as I can. I also am growing in enjoyment of spending time with my siblings as we age. and even new friendships, healthy ones. And I never was someone like that. I was somebody who always was worried about getting stuff done. Now I know that it's not a matter of what you do, it's a matter of how you be and who you are with. That is really the true indulgence of life. So it's time.
And lastly, if you could put one message on a billboard for every woman in recovery, what would it say?
That's a good question. I think I would say, choose you. Be free. And now. Choose you, be free now.
Awesome.
I hope you had as much fun as I did with these question and answers. This is Anna McBride from the She Asked podcast, where we help you rewrite your narrative, change your story, and change your life. Until soon, be well.